Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Call with your host, Kerry Ramage, managing broker at RE/MAX Elite, and Heather Holiday, your social marketing nut, talking about hottest real estate topics with a little weekly activity and motivation for the week.
Okay.
Plenty of time there. Good morning.
Good
and
morning.
Happy Monday. It feels like it's been longer than missing 1 week.
Well, and yeah, so you were here a week and a half ago, and we did our annual awards. And last year we did a drive-by. So we were set up in the parking lot, and we had a tent because it was raining, and it was miserable. It was miserable. It was great for all the agents that came out and got their awards, and it was fun because we did the pictures and people were in their cars and all of that. But for us, sitting out there for 2 hours in the rain was horrible. So then this year we decided to do a pop-by. So we had it in the office, and you drove down, which is awesome that you did that. And
I didn't want to get, with everything that had happened at R4, like people not being able to get rental cars. And I did not want to get stuck at the airport again. It was bad enough not being able to get an Uber during R4 and finding some stranger that asked me if I wanted a ride. I was like,
right.
I'm just going to drive down. And yeah, that's not a fun drive in a Jeep. No. As soon as the wind starts picking up, it's like we're all over the place. And then Sunday, it stormed all day. I mean, until we hit Georgia. I had to pull over by the time we got to Palm Coast. I was like, yep, I can barely see when it's dark, but add in a thunderstorm, not going to happen. I was hoping to at least get to Buc-ee's, and I was mad I didn't stop at the one in Daytona. Because I could have just hung out there all morning until the sun came up, but it was like 2 exits after that. I just kept saying, one more exit. I can do this. It was horrible. It made for a very long day.
Yeah, I'm sure. But we were glad you came down, and we had a lot of agents come by and pop by, and we had lunch from Fresh Market, and it was great. It was good because the people that came by, they kind of came in waves. We set up for about 3 hours, and it was nice because we actually really had a chance to sit and talk to people.
Yeah. So it wasn't like one big event where, there's never enough time to be able to, because everybody's in there at one time, where this was just a constant flow of people just being able to kind of sit in there and us to have actual conversations. So it was completely different than our normal big rah thing, but it was nice.
Yep.
That, it wasn't like a long afternoon.
Yep.
But there was never a lull. It was just in and out and being able to have conversations while we're munching on food. I think we grazed all day.
I think so too. And it was nice. It was good. So we were glad to do that. And then we took the week off. And here we are again, back for a Monday morning. And I guess today we want to look at the lessons, the 5 lessons we've learned from last year, from being in a pandemic, which is, I'm sure there's way more than 5.
way more. I mean, and it's nice to see some things starting to slowly get back to normal. I know when I come down, I'll just see like a few group, or I don't come down as much because I don't really see my family because it's just one of those, like, if I were to have, like, I'm not giving it to anybody else, like I'm just going to stay to myself, just not do anything. But now that everyone's getting vaccinated, it was really nice. It was my first time spending time with my family, which we got to have like a huge game night. And that was, we haven't been able to do that since all of this started. And, that was so much fun and so needed, and not realizing that it has been that long.
So, yeah. And just as a quick aside, and I don't want to get sidetracked with this because I could talk about this event for days, but our good friends, Lindsay Sanger and Bobby Norton got married over the weekend, and they had the wedding at their house outdoors. I think they have an acre or more of property. And I was on a listing appointment yesterday, and I was telling the gal whose house I was at, it was so nice to be able to go somewhere and celebrate and see a lot of people you haven't even seen in person in a really long time. And because it was outside and there was social distancing, it was amazing. And it's funny, I told them both yesterday morning, it was the party of the year. And then Bobby responded, well, we know how to throw the party of the year, have a year where you can't have parties and then plan one, It's like, so
very true.
It was just so nice to be able to see people and celebrate and have fun. So I hope that we are getting back more and more towards the normalcy, I guess. I mean, it'll
be the new normal.
Yeah, we keep hearing the buzzwords, the new normal, and I think, what's interesting is I think as a society, and we'll probably just continue to be more cautious about being around people and spreading germs. I think the flu is down, and probably because everybody's being a little more careful, washing your hands more, not always touching everything and everybody, so.
I don't think you realize how much stuff you touch until we went through this. I mean, everything, I think we've all taken away huge lessons going through this, and I know as we go through this, like real estate's always ever changing. It's something I think why I love being in the real estate industry so much is because it's always evolving and changing. And then, from a buyer's market, a seller's market, just, going through the short sales was a whole other.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's no room for complacency in real estate. Once you become complacent, I think you become obsolete or become not as needed. You have to, and like we say, you have to be always. So our first point is don't be afraid to adjust your sales. So, but that's something honestly has always been the way in real estate. I mean, when we think back to when you started, there was still the real estate books. When I bought my first house.
Yeah, Neil had come into the office and was teaching Kelsey how to use the plat books.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's what we had. And then the whole underneath, we had all the books. I had to go to the board every 2 weeks to get our books. And my grandmother, she sat on her book because that was the information portal.
Yeah.
Only the agents had those. I mean, I used a typewriter for everything, all the BPOs for the banks.
Can you imagine?
The entire office.
It's crazy. I mean, so yeah, when I bought my first house, it was the book. Then when I started in real estate in 2000, the MLS was on the internet, but it wasn't live. So if I put the listing in on Monday, it would show up Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. and you would download the MLS, so to speak, and then you could see what was new. So then you wouldn't, there would be no reason to put it on at 10 a.m. because it wouldn't show up till the next morning anyway. So,
no, we had the disposable cameras.
Oh God.
And yes, we had disposable cameras. You would, basically waste an entire disposable camera because you go and you can only have 7 photos. So you would go get those printed. You had to write the address and the MLS number on the back and then take them to the board
for them
the photos to be attached to your listing, and got 7 photos. I mean, it's crazy. We had like a Rolodex and it was basically addresses. So you could reuse photos if you were to list it again. So we kept all the photos. And the same thing with all of our ads for Florida Today. They had to physically come to the office to pick up our ads because we basically taped the photo of what was going to be in the ad.
Right. And now
it feels like I'm dating myself, and I don't feel I'm that old. I think I'm still 24. Right.
Right. Well, and it's funny and now, we have evolved to video, YouTube channel, professional photography. Now, when you look at a listing that doesn't have professional photography, you're like, oh my God, what are they thinking? Everybody's using professional photography. And even in this market, when the property is going so quickly, professional photography is still a must because
it's still your portfolio.
Yes.
It's your reputation. It's how do you market a listing? And I mean, how it gets displayed. I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves are those that just want to get a listing onto the MLS as soon as possible. They'll use a Google Earth. It gets, blasted. It goes live, even though you paid for professional photography. It just went live on every website that displays your listing with a Google photo.
Yeah.
And that's how it gets announced. And now what happens? People aren't seeing that. I mean, it drives me crazy. Like, you're so anxious to get it live, but that's just how you made that full announcement. It's kind of like going to a job interview right after, I don't know, like in
your sweatpants.
Right. And like
sweatpants
names and everything else. I mean, why would you do that? It's one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah. So we've just seen this year has been a lot of adjustment. Like we've said many times, now we're doing this Monday morning wake up call, which we had been planning for 2 years. Now, people are doing virtual showings. Video has become so much more important, or even just live video. If you have to do a live video walkthrough. So if you weren't prepared and hadn't practiced or weren't doing that before, you certainly learned in 2020. And what's interesting, again, and I said this yesterday, for many, many, many agents, 2020 has been their best year. So even in a pandemic and there are many markets, Pennsylvania, Miami, California, where we weren't even allowed to go in houses and show houses, So video became so incredibly important. So if you haven't adjusted and moved with that, I got my first iPhone in 2020, so you have to move with what is happening. The other thing,
you can't be afraid of the change. You almost have to embrace it. I don't know if it was a Tony Robbins or something. I mean, like, the magic happens when you get out of that comfort zone. Like, you have your comfort zone and then you get out of it a little bit, and that's where the magic happens. So you have to be able to embrace change. Yes, it may be scary, but the lessons you learned in that, or the growth that happens when you get out of that little comfort bubble that we all have, magic happens. And, really, if you are afraid to dabble in video, I think those that were, video has been the thing for the last 3-4 years. It's, nonstop. And those that had dabbled with it were a little more comfortable.
Yep.
So when this all happened, it was really a no-brainer, because they could think outside the box and, I can do a Zoom and do my Matterport right there on Zoom. And, those that had the 3D cameras, and I know we did a lot of classes on that and the equipment and, how people were using that when everything first kind of happened.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to embrace and get out of your comfort zone, think outside the box a little. But that's the fun thing about real estate, because it is always changing. So
exactly. We're always learning. We're always changing. We're always adjusting. But the opposite to that, in a way, is we really learned we had to keep up with our time management, because we weren't just selling real estate then. If you had children, you were now a school teacher or a caregiver. For me, I have my mother who's 84. She lives behind me. She hasn't been in a grocery store in over a year. I've actually only been in a grocery store 4 times in the last year, 5 times now.
So I found delivery and
delivery. I'm all about delivery now, and I will never go back. Right?
Leo thinks that's crazy that I don't go, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm grocery shopping," and I'm on my phone, and he's like, "That is not grocery shopping." Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "It's time management. I mean, it's going to take me. It's 2 hours of my life to go there, or I can just do it on the app as we need things, and then done. When do I want it? There it shows up. Totally worth a tip, because it's time management. I'm not taking 2 hours out of my day to have to go into the grocery store. Time management. And when you live in the boonies, it's not like the store's a mile away like it used to be.
It's huge. It's huge. And so when we did our business planning, so I have my business planning book here, we give out a sample, it's hard to see, of time blocking, a sample schedule. So if any of our agents didn't get the business plan, let us know. We'll send it to you. But time blocking is a big thing, and we had to adjust. Because if you were having to monitor your children with school, maybe you were having to do real estate a lot later at night because you were with your kids making sure they were doing schoolwork. I mean, I know my boys who are older and can self-manage, they struggled with the online school. I mean, there's still places that just went back to school. We were lucky enough here in Florida that not my college age student, but my high school student went back to school in the fall. You know, he went live. You had the option of whether you wanted to go live or do virtual, and he was like, I can't do this virtual. I don't like it. So, you know, they're masked up at school every day. I myself and a friend whose son is in his class made the commitment to drive the boys every day because we didn't want to put them on the bus because we felt like germs on the bus maybe. So I'm lucky enough to have the type of job where I can make the adjustment and do that. But that's time management. Every day I pick up at 3:30. So I know I have to be on my way to Vieira High School at 3:15. So, you know, it's time management. So does that mean at 8:30 at night, am I maybe responding to some emails that I would have normally done at 3:30? Yes, you know.
And having systems like a CRM or a task manager or something like that to make sure that you're getting everything that you need to get done. For me, it's just, you know, going to bed a little earlier, waking up earlier because I can get more done at 6 a.m. where my phone isn't going nuts and, you know, life just starts happening, but the closer you get to 9 a.m. So for me, it's making, you know, I'll go to bed a little earlier, but that's because I'm in my office by 6 a.m. getting stuff done because I'll get more done in those 3 hours than I will the entire rest of the day.
Right.
Because, you know, you're working with everything else. So
right. For sure.
Time management is, I mean, that's always been huge in real estate in general. It's just going through what we went through last year. That was, you know, taking it to another level by being a teacher. And I mean, getting mine up before noon was like torture.
Well, and that's why I'm glad, you know, Gavin went back to school because it, you know, you got to getting him back to a little bit of normalcy. It was really, really nice. Well, and then so the next thing is staying healthy. You know, we've learned that over 2020, staying healthy is super important, whether it's with for you, right? We were at R4 and everybody was like, you look fabulous. And you were like, that's because I'm not eating out every day. I've started cooking healthy food at home all the time.
Which also involved time management.
Yep.
Because that was always my number one excuse. I never had a desire to learn how to cook because it just took too much time. But seeing the results and seeing, you know, I actually enjoy it, which, you know, I've never enjoyed cooking. It's always been about the quickness, you know, the easy step. And I could just go online and, you know, have pizza delivered, but I can't really do that out in the boonies. So that's part of why I had to make that change.
Yep.
But my son, I mean, since going virtual, he has probably gained 60 pounds. 60 pounds. And not wanting to go to school being in college, being accepted to 3 colleges, but they were all virtual. He absolutely hated virtual school. Yeah. I mean, I think, and then it's like, well, you need to go talk to Air Force, Space Force. And like, well, you need to lose 40 pounds. And then that was a few months ago, but he's gained 20 since then. So now he has to lose 60 to even take the test. And it's like, okay, well, that was kind of our backup plan. Now we have no idea. So now he has to go and apply to colleges, but I don't know. And a lot of people and that's how it was before I had done that and I gained 40 pounds easily. Yeah. It's super easy.
Yeah.
When you're kind of confined and.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've seen so many more people. I don't know. Well, you're in the boonies where I live in Suntree. You know, when I go out every day, you see so many more people walking and out and families together riding bikes and things like that, which is, you know, all very important for your health, especially for the people who were people who go to the gym, and then the gyms were closed for so long. So keeping up with your health, whether it be exercise, eating right. I have a friend I saw at the wedding over the weekend, and he, I think in April, decided he wasn't going to drink or smoke anymore, which I can't even imagine living with somebody during a pandemic when you're already a little grouchy because you're not leaving the house, who doesn't smoke or drink anymore. And it's funny because I saw him on Saturday and I looked at his wife and I was like, he looks fabulous. Like, you look fabulous, I said to him. And I looked at her and I was like, he looks fabulous, because his health without the drinking and the smoking just made him, he looked great. You know what I mean? The skin looked great and his eyes were clear. And and I know a lot of people, it could have gone either way during this time, where you drank more or smoked more or ate.
Well, because there's stress eating, stress drinking, just everything. Everything changed on us. But I have noticed, like, us being able to do more things. It was finding stuff outdoors, and we really found our love for camping.
Mm-hmm.
So doing things that, whereas normally you could go to like the theme parks and stuff like that. It's really finding what can we do outside where we're kind of, we're hiking, we're going to waterfalls, we're doing all these things that are really outdoors versus, the things that we would normally do.
Yeah.
That would be inside, and those were kind of closed. And now it's still, I don't know, it's just kind of weird, I guess. But I mean, we just find all these things that we can do outside as a family. And that's been fun because that was something that we never did, I guess. And now we do.
Now you're doing it, which is awesome. Right. So then the next one is have an emergency fund. Oh my goodness. There were so many people who, I have to say, in this industry, we're really lucky for those of us who still had a successful 2020. But there's so many other industries where people weren't able to work, and then how are you paying your bills? And so it's just made you, I took 2020 and took the time when I wasn't out spending money at restaurants or bars or shopping or all those things. And I paid down, everything I could pay down, so that if this ever happens again, I don't have these automatic bills, and then build your savings.
And it could have gone any way. I mean, we had no idea what was going to happen when everything was shut down. And there are states that real estate was not essential, so you couldn't do anything. And I think, if anything, we've all learned, like, okay, we need that emergency fund, and we need to triple that, because we have no idea what's going to happen. And, none of us knew what was going to happen. It was nothing that any of us had gone through. But I think that could have been a saving grace for a lot of people, just to make sure. I mean, savings is super crucial, and to have that emergency fund. And of course, that emergency fund never, a pandemic was never something that we thought about.
That you ever consider, right? So it's funny. So Dave Ramsey was the keynote speaker at R4, and I thought he was going to talk about what he normally talks about, which is things like that, making yourself liquid and paying down debt and paying cash for stuff. That's not what he spoke about, but that's neither here nor there. But it reminds me of what he teaches and preaches, which is, don't overextend yourself. Make sure you've got things paid down, and without knowing that there would be a pandemic. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen in life. You never know what's going to happen in life. I was watching, sometimes I'll binge watch this TV show called Bar Rescue on Sundays. They play it on whatever channel. I think it's Paramount.
Yeah. No, we watch all of those.
So there was one where the owner does everything, and even his secret recipes for their Long Island iced teas, he doesn't share it with the bartenders. And John Tapper, who was like, you need to share the recipe. What if you're not here? And the owner was like, well, I'm always here. And he was like, what if you get really sick, or you have an accident, or something happens? You may not always be here. So you have to get out of that mentality when, we, especially in this business, we all want to control so much of what we do. You really have to have the systems in place, which goes back to the time management, so that it can run if something devastating happens to you. And that also brings in the making sure you have the emergency fund. If something devastating happens to you or your family, you need to make sure you can keep this going and keep your family going.
I know when I was doing coaching, other than I think the first month was all about the finances, going through every single thing that I was buying, what's the return on that? How bad do I need something? But really going through the financials of my business. Mm-hmm. And the second month was, do I have a manual of every single thing I do in case something were to happen to me? If I was in a car accident or something, do I have something where it could easily, okay, here's exactly what I do for every single thing. And that was, they made me do a manual, kind of like I used Evernote, but it was really just putting those systems in place and exactly what I did, just because you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. But
you really don't. And it's funny. One of the most painful things about coaching, when you first get into it, is exactly what you said. They make you do, I don't care what coach you're working with. I think they all have at least this part of the formula that's the same. They want to know every dime you're spending and where you're spending it. So you do two things. You do for personal and you do for business. So you can track every one of those numbers so you can see how much money you actually need to make to cover this business and this life, and where you can cut things out, but where you can add things. Where are you going to spend marketing dollars? Are you spending marketing dollars in the wrong place? So making sure that you're financially sound and secure and you've built up an emergency fund is so incredibly important. And then the last thing, which is also was difficult during this time, surround yourself with positive connections.
I think that was one of the most important. I mean, honestly, for every aspect, your soul, your mind, to be able to, there was so much negativity and uncertainty and all of that. So by surrounding yourself with positive, and then I think, that's part of like why we started this. And, we have the live trainings that we do on Thursday. It was all about helping each other and being the buffalo, not the cow. And that, I think, was one of the most emotional parts when Dave Ramsey was mentioning that, because there were so many people in this industry that stepped out of that comfort zone, had no idea what we were doing or how we were going to do it. We were just going to fake it till we made it, right? Just figure it out, do something that's for the better. Instead of being the cow in the field in the middle of the storm, we decided to be buffaloes and plow through it and try to give back in a way to help everybody through whatever we were going through. And I was so proud of ourselves. I was so proud of just so many people in the industry that
stepped up,
that did that. And that was probably what set me off for the entire week, was just, I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
I really am, because this was way out of our comfort zone. Just one of those things on our vision board. Yeah, we're going to do it.
For sure. And honestly, even during this time, when you're around negativity or you're feeling negative yourself, look, there's been plenty of times where I've gotten texts or phone calls or emails from agents and they're struggling and it's hard and you're trying to be the positive influence. And then you just hang up the phone and you just have a cry because 2020 was so hard, but I think by keeping yourself with other people that are feeling positive. And there were so many, like you say, within this industry, within our Remax network, that were doing different meetings or podcasts that you could listen to or interact with that helped to feed you to keep feeling positive. You know what I mean?
Just everyone, just so many people just giving back. I mean, I know even, we, on my Thursdays live training, we always have somebody in the network that can teach us something, right? That whatever the topic is, and not one person ever hesitated to do a class for us or to show us something that they're doing very well. And that there's power to that. Not one person ever, let me look at, absolutely love to help. Let's let's do this. Every single person never hesitated to give back. And there's just something to be said for that, and surrounding yourself with people in that positive mindset to like adjusting your sales. Let's do this. We can do this. And, what can we do? How can we help each other get through this? Surrounding yourself with that mentality versus the opposite of all the negative that's been around.
Yeah, and I mean, we could go on for that. I mean, just, whatever you felt about even just wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or whatever, for me, it just became important to not get engaged in that and to do what I felt was right, whether it's what I wanted to do or didn't want to do. But there's so many other things in 2020 that were there was just a lot of negativity. I mean, we had an election, which is always spurs craziness. So trying to stay away from that and not engage in that and just keeping yourself positive. I downloaded, I can't remember what it's called, but it's in a morning thing about, meditation. And, it's every morning at like just take and get your mind right for the day. I think it's mindfulness or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. It pops up on my phone every morning and it's like 5 minutes to listen to this meditation thing and get your mind right for the day. And I remember the first time I listened to it, it was like, uncross your legs, like uncross your hands. Like, and I tend to like hold my hands like this. I sleep with my hands like this, which is just, but it was that kind of getting your mind right and centered for the day. So, I mean, lots of good things that 2020 taught us. Adjust your sales, change with the times. But keep your time management going, because otherwise you could be like a squirrel, all over the place. Keeping yourself healthy, enhance your emergency fund, and then stay positive. And so for our weekly activity, and this is kind of, we've had this or similar weekly activities ongoing, but it's just a good reminder. Reach out to 5 people you care about and then help them acknowledge their resiliency through this, how they've been able to be resilient and stay strong and stay positive. It'll help you feel better. I think when you make those connections with other people, it helps you, it helps them. It doesn't always have to be about reaching out. Oh, remember, I sell real estate. It doesn't always have to be about that. This business is about connections. And it's funny, when I go on listing appointments, one of the things I say, and this may be too touchy-feely for some people, but the seller and yourself have to be able to connect. This is, although it is a business transaction, you have to be understanding of their feelings and needs, because this is very emotional business, and having that connection is super important.
No, absolutely. And then our words of wisdom is, the starting point of all achievement is your desire, by Napoleon Hill. I thought that was great, because we had the desire to do this and had to adjust our sales, and we just decided we're going to do it. But it was that desire that brought us to this point. And we do know that people watch it and they let us know. And that was super enlightening at R4, and just,
Right? That was super exciting at R4 is when people come up to us and say, oh, we've been watching your Monday morning wake up call. That was awesome. Or even
cool. So, I mean, knowing that you are making that difference and being that positivity, trying to give support and help and, activities, just motivation for the week. I mean, I'm proud of us. And that's, so when I saw that, I was like, I love that. And I thought it went well with everything that we learned. So I think that's it for now. We're getting all of finally our Q2 stuff, getting that ready. So we have a ton of shows ready for you. But until next week, wake up, kick ass, and repeat. See you guys next week.